friends, Kim from Stamping Imperfection. Thank you for joining me today. If you aren't a subscriber, I would love it if you subscribed and click that bell to get notifications every time I upload a video. And please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. So today I'm sharing a card that I'm making with this kit that I got from the Hedgehog Hollow. And I am really loving this. It's got all kinds of things. Usually you get 2 stamp sets. You get a 6x8 stamp set, and isn't that gnome adorable? And then you usually get a smaller stamp set that's mostly sentiments. This kit included these card inserts with sentiments on them, some pretty fun pattern paper, a tie-dye stencil, and then this layering stencil. And when I held this up to the light, I realized these are Volkswagen vans that look just like that large stamp. So I want to play with this stencil because I can't wait to see what this stencil looks like once I get some color on it. So I have a piece of white cardstock. It's cut 4.5 by, or 4.25 by 5.5. And I'm going to start with, these aren't numbered or anything. So I decided I would start with the bit I want to use for some color. And I'm pulling out an orange color and a gray because I want to make it that orange and white color. And I'm going to use the gray just to make the white stand out from the white background. So I'm pulling out Maker Forte inks. Maker Forte has a brand of inks called Color Hive, and I pulled out Red Luster and the Fog ink. So I'm putting down, I put a little adhesive on the back of the cardstock and just stuck it to my mat. And now I'm using this Spellbinder's best craft tape ever. And I'm holding my stencil down with that. And I do really like this this tape. The only thing I don't use it on is pattern paper, because sometimes if the pattern paper is made with toner, it does take the toner off. Or lighten it in the spot where the tape was. So I'm using this Red Luster, which is really like an orangey red color, and I'm adding it to the part of the stencil that's creating the colorful bottom of the Volkswagen van. And I'm just adding some color. And I took a virtual weekend series of classes in March, and one of the things they said about ink blending, which I've never thought about before, is that when you're ink blending over a stencil like this, if you usually ink blend clockwise, make sure you also do counterclockwise, and it'll give you actually better coverage. And I was surprised at how much of a difference it does make on a stencil. So I always try to do that now. So I'm putting down what I'm going to use as the second stencil, and this is the rest of the body of the van. And I'm pulling out that Fog ink, and I'm just going to lightly add some Fog ink to that. I don't want it to look super gray. I just need it to have enough of a contrast in color so that you can see the individual vans when I pick this up. And I think this is such a cute, I'm already loving this. So the third stencil, I put the windshields down. And so now I want to make the windshield. So I'm going to use a blue color. And there's this ink called Icy Mist, which is sort of a bluish green color. And it's so pretty. It came out last month, and oh my goodness, it's one of my favorite colors now. It's a very soft bluish green color, a little more blue than green, and it's working perfectly for the windshield. So this is the windshield stencil. And I'm so happy that they made this a set of layering stencils. This is one of my all-time favorite stencil sets ever, I have to say. I'm not sure what they're calling it, but it's just adorable when you get it all done. So that's the third stencil. Now the fourth stencil is the bumper, the wheels, the headlights, and the side mirrors. And since I've already used my gray, I wanted to do this in a different color, I pulled out my black ink. I almost pulled out the gray because I thought I would make it look metallic, but I decided I'm just going to go with black because I think that'll make it really stand out. So I pulled out the Remarkable Eclipse Black ink, which is the color Hive black. I really like this black ink, especially for Copic coloring, because you can stamp and immediately start to color. And you'll see me do that later in this video because I will add some color to a couple of quick stamps, and I'll be using a yellow, and you'll see I color right away without waiting for it to dry at all. I stamp and go. So this is my favorite Copic coloring ink, because it really does not smear. So I just give everything a good color, and isn't that adorable? And as soon as I finish this, I realize, oh, I kind of want to do this in a rainbow assortment. So I did go ahead and decide I'm definitely going to do this in a rainbow assortment. And that'll be my next color version. And I'm just adding a little bit more gray to the top of a couple of those. And just so, because it wasn't standing out at all, and now it's standing out a little better. And how cute is that? It's such a cute layering stencil set. And you know, if you've been following me for a while, you know that stencils are one of my favorite things to use because they're such a good value for your money, and there's so many different ways you can use them. I'm just ink blending here, but all the different mediums, and you can foil with them if you use the Thermoweb Transfer Gel Duo. I mean, it's just amazing. So I definitely am going to now play with adding some different colors here, and I just pull out so many colors. I just really had a good time with this. So I started with that red luster again, which is a nice orange color. And then I pulled out a yellow, and I pulled out English mustard. This is my favorite mustard, or my favorite yellow color in the Maker Forte line. And I just start filling that in. And my brush had a little bit of black ink on it, so I pulled out a different brush, and I'll just go over that. So it's going to have a little bit of darkness to it, but that's okay. It ends up turning out beautifully anyway. And now I need a green, so I pulled out British Racing Green. This is a really pretty green. They have a lot of yellows and greens and blues that they just recently came out with, so there are so many options of different like colors to choose from. It's really nice. And I pulled out this blue moon color. It's one of my favorites. This and the Icy Mist are like blue-green colors. This one is a little bit more green than blue. It's so pretty, and I really like it. And then I pulled out a color called Vegas Strip because I love this particular shade of blue, and I did that. And then I have a new color I just got, and it is called Blueberry Cheesecake, and it's a light lavender color. It's like smushed blueberries that they always look kind of purple instead of blue. So now I've got this fun rainbow of colors. And you could leave the stencil just like that. It doesn't look like anything, but it's kind of a pretty background. So I pulled out the stencil that I used the light gray with, and you definitely have to have it turned correctly. I have this backwards, so I'm going to flip it back over, and you can see it lines up beautifully as soon as you flip it over. So if your stencils aren't lining up, make sure you flip them over and try them. Most of the time, like if I get layered stencils from Maker Forte, which is the actual company that the Hedgehog Hollow is part of, they're actually labeled so you know which side is the front side, and a lot of times they're numbered too. And it doesn't usually matter what order you put things in, but it is nice to have numbers on them so you know which ones you've done and which ones you haven't. So this is the third stencil, which is the windshield one. It's the one I'm using as a third stencil. So I pulled out that Icy Mist again and went ahead and did the windshields. And I thought the blue worked nicely here for the windshields. And just make sure I'm filling all of these in. And then I'll do that final stencil in black, and it just really pulls the whole little stencil set together when you add that final stencil. It's so cute. Right now it looks like a helmet from a Star Wars character. And now this finishing touch really finishes it. So I'll do this one in black again. I liked the way that looked when I did it before. And it really does complete it. So I'm trying to go clockwise and counterclockwise to make sure I get good coverage. I thought that was a good tip. And I feel like I've been paper crafting and card making and scrapbooking for a really long time. I still like to take classes. Every now and then you get a little tip, or somebody's experimented with something that you haven't. Isn't that cute? It's so cute in all the colors. I love it. So these are dye-based inks, and you'll notice I just take my spritzer water bottle and wipe my table off. I don't use anything but water to clean up. It just makes it so simple. And I love these. So now I just have to finish these and make my cards out of them. I actually created a third background with the rainbow ones again, and I cut it diagonally because I thought it would be fun to take a strip of green scrap paper, and I wish I'd picked a brighter one that went with the bright theme of the 60s a little bit better. And this is like a 1/2 inch strip, and I'm just laying it down, and I'll put the diagonal bit, just overlapping it, and line it up the best I can before the glue dries. That's why I'm using liquid glue. I have some wiggle room, and then I'm just going to flip it over and trim it off, and do the same thing to the bottom part. And these are really nice Cuttlebug scissors. If you are looking for a pair of paper trimmer scissors or paper snips to do fussy cutting, I quite like these. The length of the blade is really nice. I like the Tim Holtz micro mini ones also, but the blade on this is just a little bit longer, and I feel like I am more comfortable with a slightly longer blade. So I like these Cuttlebug ones. And they're just comfortable. I'm doing the same thing to the other one. So by cutting this in half diagonally, even if I had cut it horizontally or vertically, I'm getting a 2 for 1 card here. So I made one background, I'm getting 2 cards, and then I'll just go ahead and stamp some of the sentiments along the green strip and call it a day. That's my adhesive remover. I'm removing a little bit of glue that I didn't quite wipe off fast enough. So I pulled out the sentiment strip, and there's a lot of options here, the sentiment set, because whenever you get these kits, one of the stamp sets is always a sentiment set. So there's one that says flower power, and there's one that says good vibes. I really like the good vibes, but I'm not sure how well it's going to stamp. So I should have used my Misty. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking. I just pulled this out, and clearly my ink pad needs to be re-inked because it just didn't ink dark enough. So I ended up stamping this on a piece of white cardstock and then re-stamping it. And as I'm stamping it, I tried it on a piece of scrap paper. I realized that the letters seemed to fill in a little bit. So I did pull out a white gel pen and try to fix it, but it just really, I wasn't able to fix it. So I just stamped on a piece of plain white cardstock, trimmed it down, and then put it on top. You can see, you can't really see the lines in the B, the E, and the S. So I'll just, here I'm trying to fix it with see if I can actually clean up some of the spots but the white gel pen ended up being messier than I wanted it to be. It did fix a couple spots, but not all of them. So the key is to let this dry and not fuss with it like I'm doing. Had I just stopped there before and let it dry and then maybe go over it again. My gel pen for some reason is actually kind of leaky. So I need to get myself a new one. But you know, a gel pen lasts for a long time when you get it. I've started adding more gel pen details to my stuff too, just because that was another thing in one of the virtual classes I took. Our internet was terrible in March, and I missed a couple of virtual events at the Hedgehog Hollow and Maker Forte, but I did manage to make it to the other one that I had signed up for in March. It was actually to a whole different places virtual weekend, and one of the other things that I really liked was the gel pen detail class that they had, because I've been looking for videos on gel pen details and they're actually hard to find. So they had a whole class on it, which was very fun and very valuable. It's like that was something I really wanted to learn about, and now I've been adding gel pen details to more of my Copic coloring pieces. So I trimmed these pieces down. This colorful one was 4 by 5 1/4. I added a piece of yellow scrap cardstock I had left over, cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I trimmed this panel down to 3 3/4 by 5, and the yellow piece behind it is 4 by 5 1/4, and I just put a 1/2 inch green strip. I like this green better than the other green that I used. So I did decide to, I just use the liquid glue, by the way, to put these down on my card bases. This one's going to have a little white peeking around the edge. The other one will cover the top perfectly. My card bases are 4 1/4 by 11. I scored and folded them at 5 1/2. And I really like the way these look. Like, this is I think a fun go-to card layout for me when I have a background I really like. So I decided I wanted that peace sign, and I'm going to cut it out with one of my circle punches. And you know, how long has it been since you've used one of your circle punches? It's been a long time for me. And of course I have circle dies also I could have used. Maybe you don't have punches, you have dies instead. But I had a 1 1/2 inch circle punch that worked beautifully here. I did pull out a couple of Copic markers just to color these in, and I did not do anything fancy here. I just colored it with a little bit of orange and orangey yellow. And the other one I'm going to use the orangey yellow and then a yellow, and just color them in. Just having, you know, a little bit more color is fun on there. I mean, these are groovy stamps. They should be bright colors, right? So I'll go ahead and color the other one, and then I will punch these out with my hole punch. And by hole punch, I mean circle punch. And I'm also going to put some nice foam dots on the back of these. And they're not really dots. They're like squares. And I actually really like these squares. They're bigger than what I normally use, but these are from scrapbook adhesives, and they're nice. They come in different sizes, so I also bought a package with tinier square foam pieces. I do wish the packages had more in them. This only had one sheet of these foam squares, so I have discovered that you can buy packages that have many more in them. So the more the merrier. I do a lot of scrapbooking, and I really like having a lot of like foam, different adhesive choices. So I stamped Feelin Groovy. Again, don't know why I'm not using my Misty. So I don't have any of my oval punches with me, so I'm just trimming this down. And I think an oval punch would work beautifully here. And I'm just going to put some foam on the back and plunk that down on my card. And I did go ahead and put some really pretty crown jewel gems along that green strip also. I don't think I caught that on video, but in my final card, I added some crown jewel gems. My husband thought this was too plain and needed just a little something more, so of course I'm going to add some bling, and that completes my cards. I did also color in those two flowers next to Flower Power with that orange marker, just to add a little bit more color. I think they're super fun, so thank you so much for watching, friends. Have a wonderful day.